Welcome to Champion Minded, the podcast for those who aim for excellence, not only in the sports arena, but in life. My name is Allistair, author, speaker, mindset and performance coach, and my goal is to help you unleash your unlimited potential and provide you with the tools to achieve greatness. Are you ready to become champion minded? Then let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to the Champion Minded podcast, or welcome back to the podcast. I'm Allistair, coming to you this week from Marseille, France, south of France, the beautiful south of France. This week I'm still actually buzzing from the Champions League semi-finals. Obviously, my beloved Liverpool coming back from a 3-0 deficit against Barcelona, and of course last night Tottenham Hotspurs also coming back. So never give up, as Mo Salah had written on his shirt. Always believe, guys. I mean, this is such a valuable lesson for all of us. I've found in life, especially in sports, so many people give up, even with a big deficit or a huge mountain in front of them or whatever it may be, that they just have these self-defeating thoughts. So guys, never give up. It's always possible. That is the champion-minded way. Anyway, before we get into this week's show, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you who have left a review on iTunes for this podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Also on Amazon for my books, Champion Minded, and of course the new one, Becoming a Great Team Player. Thank you so much for you guys who have read the book and have left a review. I always appreciate feedback. Anyway, getting into this week's episode on what it takes, we have Richard Whitehead. And Richard Whitehead is a Paralympian. He's competed in 3 Paralympics. We've actually already had 2 guests on the podcast who were Paralympians. And, you might know I do a little bit of work with Paralympic sports. Previously worked with the United States soccer team, as well as doing some work for the United States wheelchair team. So super pumped to have this guy on the show. Very sympathetic. Also, what I love about him is he gives a lot back to the sport. He'll talk about his foundation in this podcast. He'll talk about his training, and it's just a super inspirational guy. Also does public speaking, so check him out. He's on Twitter @MarathonChamp. And also, he has a webpage. So, guys, without further ado, here is Richard Whitehead. Hey, Richard, welcome to the Champion Minded podcast.
Thank you. Cheers. I'm obviously honoured to be part of your podcast, and it's great to have a new platform to share my story.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time. I know you've been training hard, and we're obviously going to get into what's coming up and what's exciting you and what's driving you. But just to give the listeners a little bit of a background, Richard is a double amputee. He's a British athlete. He's actually the world record holder. Is that still the fact? Still world record holder in
the 200 meters.
200 meters. Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just actually on the Wikipedia page right now. Also, I'm cheating.
Wikipedia is something that it needs to be taken with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to think of myself as an athlete that every day wants to be better. So unless Wikipedia is updated daily, it's not factual.
Yeah. Well, it gives us guys a bit of a background of what you're all about. You've competed in 3 Paralympic Games.
That's right. Two Summer Paralympic Games, London and Rio, and 1 Winter Paralympic Games in 2006.
Awesome.
So I've had lots of experience in high level sport within team environments as well as individually. So I kind of know what I'm looking for performance wise, and what that looks like and how I visualize that, and that's through a lot of experience at that level, and obviously making mistakes is part of that, and being able to be dynamic enough to make those changes when are needed. So yes, I've had 3 Paralympic Games, 4 times world champion in the 200 meters, and double Paralympic gold medalist in my event. So, like I say, it's consistency. I know what it takes to be consistent at the top, as well as how to put things right and how to plan a successful performance.
Excellent. That's why we've got you on here on the Champion Minded podcast, because you fit our module here, Richard, and that's why, I mean, I follow you on Twitter. For everybody out there,
Okay.
Richard's on Twitter on @MarathonChamp.
Yep.
I love that. I love that Twitter handle name. It also says here that you, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but I'm going to just quickly blurt it out that you ran 40 marathons in 40 days. That is insane, because I thought I was pretty proud of my effort. But we'll get into that. But first of all, Richard, a little bit of background on yourself, where you were born and how you got into sports. Take it away.
Of course. So I'm 42 years old, and when I was 4 years old, my parents saw the power of sport as a real tool to break down some of the social and economic barriers that we have in the UK for people with disabilities, and also saw how powerful sport is, especially for some of those key skills. And when I look back at me growing up and the coaches that I had growing up, those key skills that I had early, I still use those now. So balance, agility, coordination, all those kind of key building blocks of a successful training program. I'm still implementing them, obviously at a different level, but still have the same methods and philosophy as I did back then. But yeah, so started off swimming and gymnastics as a young boy, had really positive role models at a young age.
And let me just jump in there. Did you have legs then, or were you already a double amputee?
Yeah, so I was a double leg amputee from birth.
Okay.
Which, in some respects, I never knew what it was like having legs, so didn't have to go through the trauma of actually losing them. But on the other at the other end of the scale, I was having to learn movement patterns myself. And those neural signals regarding extension and flexion in my legs, I was having to kind of re-engage those signals. So it took me a long time to understand there was a pathway for me in sport, but it was about trying to find what really lit my fire in sport. Have people around me that gave me the tools that I needed, so built up a really strong toolkit, and then had that pathway at an early age to say, oh, there's a Paralympic Games here, let's go for the top. Initially it was through swimming. That didn't really happen, but later down the line I found that running was really something that, one, obviously as a double leg amputee, wasn't something that I initially thought was possible. And then through watching things like the Terry Fox story and being inspired by him, realised that the power of sport and the gift that I was given, which is hopefully to inspire people to be better, I would be able to do that through sport. And it's something that, one, I don't utilise myself as something that's around self-gratification. I think it's something that I want to share with other people, and when I stand on top of that podium, it's a celebration of not just my own success, but also that anything's possible, really.
And I love that. And also that, nothing is ever an individual achievement. It's always a team, right?
That's right. And I look at not just my immediate team that support me, but for instance, when I run marathons, the amount of spectators, volunteers, administrators that have to have roles within the race and within that format for me to actually run the 26.2 miles, they're really important as well. And I think sometimes when we have that success on top of a podium, we sometimes as athletes forget where we've come from and also what the infrastructure is around success.
You see, this is why I'm so excited to have you on here, because just what you're saying already, just in these first 5 minutes, you're talking about mindfulness. You're talking about, it's not only an individual effort, regardless if you're able-bodied or not. You're mindful about every single person that's been there for you from day one. You're mindful about the people that are there on the side of the roads, at the drinks table, at the the ones that are pinning the numbers onto your vest. I mean, we forget about that, don't we? It's so easy to.
Definitely. And how you communicate with them as well. Communication comes through lots of different ways, as you know, and whether that's verbally or how you present yourself as an individual. And because my disability is so visible, when I'm on the road running, I have a sense of responsibility that I show to the general members of public that are actually watching my events, that within their life they'll have challenges and obstacles to overcome, and they see me run and they say, look, I can do this. And athletes like myself, when they put on that Great Britain tracksuit, they need to also accept responsibility around what it really is about being a role model. And I don't see myself as a role model. I see the word role model as something that's out there that we're put into these boxes, but I see the responsibility around the position I've got. And it's really important to not only support people in your local community, but all over the world. So I do a lot of charity work in the UK, in the States, all over the world, around not just people with disabilities, but around scenarios, situations, environments that people are less fortunate than myself, not just in the monetary form, but also the mindset as well. Having people around them that can inspire them to pick up that fishing rod and fish, not just be given the fish to eat.
No, powerful advice, Richard. I mean, like I said, just what you've said there just really, really resonates with me. It resonates with the champion-minded type of approach as well, of being just more aware of everything else around you, and also giving back, which you said you spend a lot of time with charities. I'm sure you spend a lot of time public speaking with schools and giving back. I mean, that's just so powerful. But let's stay with growing up. What was it like just for you, growing up as a kid? Was it difficult because you obviously had these limitations? Was it? Can you explain that?
Yeah, no. As growing up, especially in the early 80s, 90s, there wasn't really an inclusion spectrum. So the barriers and obstacles that I had to overcome, yes, some of them were physical, but most of them were educating people about what you can do in life. People, general members of public, look at you as an individual in raw form, so they see me as a person without any legs, not beneath the kind of the nuts and bolts. And I feel that as I grew up, I wasn't given a silver spoon. I had to work for everything that I've achieved in my life, which has built a real solid foundation for me. And like I said at the start, having people that coaches, mentors, teachers that enable me to take accountability of my future and give me the tools that I needed moving forwards, and also not being afraid of being uncomfortable, really challenging yourself as an individual. And that's why I keep doing things like 40 marathons in 40 days and running marathons faster, and trying to push on in our 200 meters, even though I'm 42 years old. I think it's really important that you're not driven by those materialistic things like medals, but be driven by the impact you have as an individual on people that need to be empowered. And that's one of the things that I've learned in time, that those medals that you put around your neck, whether it's when you're young or as you get older, are great moments in your life, and everybody needs to have those moments where they can look back and feel proud about themselves and their family. But it's the continual attitude that they have moving forward in life, and how you're remembered for me will not be Richard Whitehead the athlete. Hopefully it's Richard Whitehead, the person that pushes boundaries and barriers and doesn't let anything get him down. And he looked beyond his disability and found that sport is a great way to communicate without language.
I love that, Richard. This is just so champion-minded, man. Just, just what you're saying here right now. I mean, I'm actually, while I'm chatting to you, I'm looking obviously at your Twitter page, and it says here, I think it was tweeted by British Athletics, but you retweeted it saying, having an opportunity in life is important, but what defines you is what you do with that opportunity.
Yeah, that's that. And for me, all the work that I've done with the charities in the UK and abroad, I'm a patron of a cancer charity called Sarcoma UK.
Mm-hmm.
They started off with a turnover of £200,000, and the work that I did with them and the awareness, they're now in the millions. So that's really took off.
Wow.
I was able to work with a charity out in Jordan with the Syria conflict called MSF. And that was really, really important for me to go out there and to see individuals that are affected by conflict and how they haven't got the same resources as we have back in the UK and the States. And to be able to give them the opportunity to have a level platform by being able to walk and educate them about, yes, you've lost your legs, but everything can be okay. But you need to embrace your situation and work hard to get back on your feet, because nobody else will do it for you. It's about you empowering yourself.
Speaking to you, Richard, just one word jumps out for me right now: attitude. And
A lot of people say to me that I'm grumpy, as in as in when I'm an athlete, I'm quite focused. I'd like to think that I've got a positive mind frame. I think everybody sometimes has mindfulness matters that are downbeat, but you have to pull yourself out of those. And maybe, yes, I've got a performance attitude that is backed up by performances in the past, but also by the experiences I've had in life. Not all winning experiences, but experiences that have built the resilience that I've had, that I've got now moving forwards. And everybody needs resilience.
Absolutely.
Resilience is a key skill to success.
What has failure taught you?
Failure for me has taught me that preparation is key to success, and also to cherish the moments of success that you have.
How do you do that, Richard? Because I competed myself at a high level. I competed in 5 world championships in triathlon, and I was one of those guys where even if I had a great race, I would be that night planning the next move.
How to be better.
And I'd be back on the bike the next morning or back on the track, hammering myself. And never.
I think every athlete with a winning mentality always finishes that moment and says, "I could have done better." I think every athlete has that, and for me, it's about having people around you that you can share that moment with, that can make you understand that it's a special time, and to evaluate every moment. And then, like you say, planning for the future is really important, but also not getting away from that grounding. Always be grounded as a person and as an athlete. Always remember where you've come from as a person, and always revisit your core values, and the people that are around you share those core values, so they'll make sure that you stay on the same page.
I mean, how important it is to find the right people around you. I mean, here in the United States, I speak to a lot of college students, which I really enjoy. I particularly enjoy that age group between. I mean, I enjoy all age groups, of course, but I particularly enjoy that age group between, say, 18 and 22, because I find it's like that area where it's the first time in your life you're maybe away from home. You start to make your own decisions, and then you realize your choices can be very, very impactful. And just like you said there now, you're talking about one of the most important things is surrounding yourself with the right people. Can you go more into a little bit about what the right people would be like in your opinion?
Yeah, no, because I'm associated to a national governing body. So British Athletics, for instance, have their coaching network and people network. And as a high performance athlete, sometimes you're given people to work with. For me, that's not necessarily the right way for a strong, dynamic team to be um, to be brought together.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's about understanding what you need, understanding what the roles and responsibilities are within the team, and then choosing members that are going to add value to you and your performance, and that they're going to be honest with you. Because I see so many teams break down when they have frameworks in place with coaches that they like and they respect, but the coaches are not able to be honest enough with the athletes. And initially they have great success, but when those tough moments come along, where it really you need to have the honest conversation with the athlete and the coach. And if you can have that honest conversation, then if the team isn't working and you want to find somebody else to come into your team instead of that coach, then the coach and the athlete understand, and it's a mutual feeling. But as soon as that honesty is not there, the framework of the team definitely breaks down. For me, it's the pillars. The pillars that support my performance are honesty, respect, and it still needs to be fun, and it still needs to be planned. But you need to have performance-based coaches in place that add value every step of the way. And that's, for me, from my point of view, that's nutrition, that's coaching, that's biomechanists, that's doctors, physios, all the way through my team. When I look at the team that I work with, it's probably a close team of about 20 people.
Wow.
And those 20 people...
That's a pretty big team.
Yeah. Those 20 people are individuals that I feel add value to me. I don't necessarily like them all the time, but they add a positive spin on my performance. And as I'm growing older, I'm wanting those 1%. And as you know, a lot of those 1% can come from like the strangest of areas, and whether that's nutrition, whether that's recovery, whether that's performance environment. And for me, I'm continuing every day to be wanting to be better. Like today, I went in the gym. Before today, my deadlift PB was 250 kilos for one. Today, I did 250 kilos for two, and then I've been out for a 5-mile run to flush my legs, ready for tomorrow's track session.
Wow.
So,
well, hold on a second. So 250 kilos for us in the States, that's about 400 and something.
I haven't got legs.
Hold on a second. No, it's 2.2. So that's actually over 500 pounds. And you don't, my word, my goodness me. I mean, I keep going back to your Twitter here, but your top pinned tweet is you doing some plyometrics.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's incredible. It really, really is. I mean,
and it's about having a team that are dynamic enough to say, look, just because I haven't got legs, or just because I've got an impairment that affects me in this way, will not affect how they plan my program. So my program, sometimes we find something doesn't work, or I don't like how that feels on my body. But there's always a process that we go through, and my team are dynamic enough to work with me around my training.
It sounds like you're a guy that pushes the limits. One of my all-time favorite athletes, like him or not, and I mean, obviously I get a bit of flack for this in public because of what I stand for, but Lance Armstrong, for me, was the best cyclist ever, hands down, regardless.
Okay.
And, we can say it was even playing fields or whatever. Everybody has their opinion. However, I love to watch a lot of his training documentaries and the raw stuff of him training up in the Alps. And when nobody else was there, it was just him and his team director Johan Brunel. But there's one where he's riding up. I don't know which mountain it is, but it's freezing. It's raining. The visibility is 5 yards, 5 meters. And Brunel says to him out of the car window, "Hey Lance, we can't go any further. It's too dangerous up there." And Lance doesn't say a word, and then Johan says, "Did you hear me, Lance?" And he goes, I didn't hear you." And he says, "Who says I can't go any further?" And and it sounds to me that you challenge your coaches and say, "Hey, that is possible, right?"
Yeah, definitely. And who says what the limits are on the body? Every training session, you're looking to push on that lactic threshold. You're wanting to push on what's physically possible, and for me, the strongest part of the body is the mind.
Yes.
And to get over the fatigue and the soreness, it's about having that positive mindset to be able to deliver the training that delivers the performance. You are only as good as your training. When you compete, basically you're showcasing how hard you've trained.
Preparation is definitely confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, and you need to be confident with it. And I know that if I go into my training and I'm not confident, you're having to summon everything to just get on onto that box to lift that weight or to do those jumps. Where if you've got a team around you that gives you that confidence, and you've got the tools to be successful, it's so much easier for success. I remember as a young boy having those moments where not having those positive messages, and they kind of give me that kick-ass mentality where I'm going to show you kind of what I'm really about.
So you would be motivated by other people saying you can.
Yeah, definitely, like 100%. It's I'm my biggest critic, but I'm also motivated by my surroundings. So if somebody says that it can't be done, then I want to have a look at how I can do it. It's having that I can attitude goes a long way to success. But it's not reckless. It's calculated. It's and training works. Obviously, it's having people that are able to put those training plans down that then layers that training for that success. You can't go into the gym and from zero to hero. You need to go in there and put the hard miles in, like I do on the road, and that's really important that you can back up everything you say. I find that those athletes that talk a lot don't train as much. I like to train a lot and then to put the performance out on the road and the track.
If Richard could give himself advice, let's say a Richard of 25 years old, because now you're 42. So let's go back to 25. If you could give yourself advice, what would it be?
Now those questions are really hard to obviously answer. I think for me it's about cherish those moments. Take as much knowledge from all the people around you, whether you agree with it or not, because knowledge is power in sport. Knowledge is something that you can embrace or discard. And for me, read as much as you can about success in other athletes. Understand that there is lots of ways to have success, and it's not always the short-term goals that I should be looking for. I think playing the long game, I think it's really important to know, because initially I remember, especially within swimming, I was looking for looking to go to the Paralympic Games, and the only thing I was focused on was that 4-year cycle. Well, where sometimes as an athlete, you need to play the long game.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly looks like you're someone that, and I picked that up earlier in the conversation as well, Richard, is more embracing the journey than anything else. You know, you said, and I've spoken to a lot of athletes who've won Olympic golds or won Grand Slam titles or PGA Tour titles, where you know that's been their dream, that's been their vision, and then it happens, and then they wake up the next morning and type of feel, well, is that it?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever have that type of feeling, like, you know, I want to get to the Paralympics, I want to medal, but it felt good for a few days, and then it was like, okay.
Yeah, no, because I think when I sat down with my marathon coach, and we discussed about qualifying for London 2012, and it didn't really happen for me as a marathon runner. I had to change to the 200 meters, and it was about getting to the Paralympic Games on that start line in the best shape I could as a 200 meter runner, and set up my legacy within sport by finishing in the best position I could, and then hopefully running 40 marathons in 40 days for charity. So Paralympic Games was like a starting point for me. So I'd already really planned what happened if I'd win, and I won in London. That gave me a great platform, and that gave me the opportunity to do some amazing things that maybe I wouldn't have done without that success. But also the awareness that it gave me about the great work you can do off the track as well, and about changing people's perceptions of what people with disabilities can do. Like 2012 for me was not just about the success of the Paralympics, but also it gave us in the UK the opportunity to change people's ideas and perceptions about what disability looks like in the UK. We've got 40 million people in the UK that have got a registered disability, and the athletes that were successful in 2012 were able to make a different mindset change for those individuals that felt disengaged with society. And that was something that I thought, wow, the power of sport is such a powerful thing, and I feel blessed to be able to be part of that mindset change, really.
I don't know if you know this, but I did a bit of work with the US Paralympic soccer team, which I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I still actually consult with the United States tennis wheelchair team, which last year I was in Holland with them at the World Team Cup, which was incredibly exciting and obviously interesting to chat with all the athletes. But let's go to the 40 marathons in 40 days. Tell us about that, and where was it? How did it take place?
Yeah, so 2013, like I said, after 2012, my friend, unfortunately, in 2005, Simon Mellows, died of sarcoma, and I wanted to do something in his memory. He showed me great strength, and as a father as well as a person, he showed me what the true meaning of life is, and I wanted to do something in his memory. So after I went to the Paralympics in 2012 and won, I then decided this is my opportunity to plan a big challenge. So I basically ran from the top of the UK, which is John O'Groats in Scotland, all the way down through England, through Devon and Cornwall to Land's End, and it was 40 days it took me, and I ran a marathon a day. And epic challenge, ups and downs, lots of blisters. We raised £400,000 for cancer research.
Wow!
But more than that, it was the awareness that it gave the charity. Like I said before, it massively gave them the opportunity to provide more research into cancer in the UK, and for me to be able to have a legacy that's not about sport. It's about helping other people's well-being that's less fortunate than myself. And I know everybody's affected by cancer, and obviously being inspired by Terry Fox was a big moment for me, and the opportunity to pass on some support and through my running was a big opportunity for me. It was something that I didn't think I'd ever complete. I didn't think I'd ever start. But when I was doing it, it was like amazing. Like just the people I met and the
journey,
the journey, yeah. And when athletes talk about the journey to success, they talk about the journey to titles or the journey to medals. And for me, my journey has been it's accelerated as I've gone on in my life. It's got more crazy as I've got older. I've got more and more challenges, and I think it's something that I've always wanted to accept. I've always accepted a challenge if it's been presented in front of me, and hopefully when I retire and don't be a high performance athlete or don't do these crazy things anymore, people see that I've made a positive change for people in sport, whether you've got a disability or not.
Would you say that's your purpose, Richard, in life, and how important is having a purpose in life?
Yeah, I think everybody's got a gift in life, and it's about finding that gift or being educated what your own gift is, and then pursuing that, and whether that's within sport, within life, within your career. I think for me, it's about education. It's about me educating those that need that guidance and support around empowering themselves and taking accountability of themselves as a person and being better and not accepting that today you're the best version of yourself. I think it's about continually looking to improve yourself, and sport gives you an opportunity and a platform to do that. I still every day kind of wake up and want to be better in my sport, and hopefully people that are around me see that and it inspires them to be better themselves. I think a purpose is something that it's like a philosophy. You kind of you don't know you've got a philosophy until somebody kind of says you've actually got one sometimes. Mm-hmm. And for me, my philosophy is around, especially in performance sport, is around getting everything out of performance, all those 1%ers, making sure you enjoy the moment and also share that moment with the people around you.
That's powerful advice. Enjoy the moment and share that moment with the people around you.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had that advice 20 years ago, Richard. Where were you? But I tell you one thing.
My own purpose.
Yeah, I tell you one thing. I'm definitely in my 40s now. I'm definitely, I'm definitely working on that, and because I'm still pretty hard on myself. I'm still very much into performance, and I think I always will be in terms of trying to be a bit better self. And I have my flaws. I have my difficult times, and so like everybody else does, and our problems. Everybody has problems. I haven't met anybody that doesn't have a problem, no matter how perfect it looks. But I think that's powerful advice. Enjoy the moment, and especially with people around you as well. So
I think it's hard as well for sportsmen and women to be solely focused on performance and not have their own personal life have an impact. I've got 2 young children at home, and I want to be a great dad to them, as well as I want to be the best athlete I can be. And the children have a positive as well as an impact on the time that I can give to sport. But it's about being dynamic enough to manage your time more effectively as you get older, so that you're able to still perform, but also involve your family in that success, and be aware that they've got a role to play within that success. And I remember reading your book, keys to be a great coach, and some of the things that really resonated with me was about the roles and responsibilities of those around you. And I think for me, I go back to that and say, look, you're my coach, but also I want you to bring other positive traits to me and my performance. So your resilience, your determination that I know you've got, that you did, and maybe some other skills that they've got as well. So not just saying you're my coach, that's the only thing you're gonna give me. It might be other things that they're also passionate about, that they're also driven by, that they can also provide me with those 1%ers moving forwards. And I think family and the devotion that I've got to my family definitely makes me a better athlete in my 40s.
Would you find the older you've got, the more you've been able to find balance? Because as a top performer, balance is always very difficult, because as I wrote in 7 Keys to Being a Great Coach, that where there's priorities, there's imbalances. Would you say you've been able to get better with balance, or is it still very, very much a challenge?
Yeah, I think obviously family life and life in general always throws you a curveball now and then, and things like quality of sleep.
How old are your kids, Richard?
4 and 6.
Okay, so you're getting more sleep than you did a few years ago, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I hear the first year is a nightmare. I don't have any kids myself, but I can just imagine.
Yeah. They're definitely better now, but you still worry about them, and that obviously they're at school, so all the school things has an impact on your preparation towards every day, towards sport. So it has an impact, and balance can be something that I know as a performance athlete, you're always looking for that 50-50 balance between sport and your personal life, and that can't be always the case. Sometimes, especially when you're going into competition, that you're having to make allowances for that stage of the year. For me, it's about making all the parties aware of where your time needs to be, and making use of your time more effectively.
Good advice. You're actually the third athlete with disabilities I've had on the podcast, and I'm always super excited to get you guys on. You're the second Paralympian. We had Erica Gravel on earlier, who is a Canadian wheelchair basketball player. But if there was, and we do have a lot of disabled athletes that listen to the podcast, especially here in the States as well, what advice would you give to that population? And I'm not just talking at a high level here, Richard. I'm talking about kids that maybe want to get, play sports, and everything. What advice would you give to them?
And I think it's more kids and parents as well. I think the parents are key to the success of the children. There's going to be obstacles and barriers to overcome, and the young people with disabilities, or like myself, are going to have to overcome some of those barriers and obstacles themselves. They don't need to be supported and guided through all those challenges. I was somebody that grew up that liked to climb trees and fall off trees and run on my legs and fall over on my legs. So
and jump boxes.
Yeah, jump boxes.
You're still
like on my Instagram.
You're still doing it. You're still doing it today. So I don't think much has changed. I think the kid is still in there, Richard.
Definitely, yeah. So that attitude needs to be supported, and the willingness for the individual to find their way. It's important that you don't wrap that child in cotton wool, but give them the guidance that they need, and build healthy habits. Build habits that they can that will build their confidence every day moving forwards, and will make them into a better person, not just a better athlete. And they're just general habits that we all know about healthy eating, about a lifestyle, about sleep, about a positive mindset. And that doesn't matter if you've got a disability or not. And I think in the year 2019 moving forwards, having a disability is now becoming an advantage, because you're actively overcoming obstacles and barriers. And when you're looking for employment, and employers are looking for those individuals to employ that have experience of problem solving and overcoming issues that are in general life, and people with disabilities do that every day. And also, how sweet is success when you've got obstacles and challenges to overcome, whether they're physical or mental. For me, I feel blessed to be in a position where I'm able to support other people, but also that people find goodness from my performances.
Just getting back to that about allowing kids to fail more and to endure adversity. It's almost here in the United States, when you mention that to a parent, they look at you with wide eyes in terms of what do you mean let my kid fail? I feel in today's society we protect them so much from mistakes and failure that they never actually have the opportunity to build grit and resilience. Just like you said, when you were a kid, you were left to do things on your own. You were left to figure things out. You were left to climb that tree and fall down and realize the consequence of it, for example. But I feel today, like you said, you used the term cotton wool. And we here in the States, we use the term bubble wrap, because everything's bubble wrapped here.
Definitely same. And I think you need to empower young people. And I, as an adult, as a father, I'm guiding my young children around what is right and wrong, but also giving them the opportunity to make their own pathways in life, and whether that's in sport or in other forms in life. I think that's really important. And support them in their life, and not give them all the tools themselves. I think it's really important that you go through scenarios and situations that are tough, that build that determination and build that resilience moving forwards. And I know with people with disabilities, we hear a lot about young people overcoming massive challenges to be successful, and I'm inspired by so many people that I watch on TV that are maybe they haven't got arms and legs, and they're running an Ironman triathlon in Kona, or running the Boston Marathon, and every day there's people out there that are doing some incredible things, and that's what inspires me. People that have taken on the responsibility that they can do it, and they achieve it. It's not just about the time and about those shiny gold medals. It's about that can-do attitude.
So moving forward, what is still on the bucket list or the goals for Richard Whitehead?
The bucket list for me would be, I think I've still got some business to do at the marathon distance. I've run a half marathon in 74:59, so 1 hour 14:59.
Wow.
And my marathon time's 2:42, and I think I can do faster than that. So I'd like to go back to the marathons after I finish the track, my track journey in Tokyo in 2020. I think there's probably one more big challenge in my system, and I'm not really sure what that is yet. And then maybe move into performance coaching and be on the other side of the fence, supporting athletes in the correct way, hopefully providing them with the tools to be successful. And whether that's in the UK or in the States or in another country, I'm open to obviously those the opportunities in the future. I feel that I've got a lot to give and continue to give. I'm obviously passionate about sport. I'm passionate about disability sport, and I also see that within business there's a lot of skills that they could also learn from athletes such as myself. So working continuously with the business sector around business coaching and other things internally and externally with brands.
Awesome. Before I forget, because I usually leave this to the end, and I have left it out with one or two guests by accident, but if any of the listeners want to reach you, Richard, what would be the best way? Obviously, without giving out your telephone number, but they can obviously follow you on Twitter at Marathon Champ. But is there any other places where they could
Instagram,
okay,
and that's Richard_Whitehead_MBE.
Okay,
and a lot of my training videos are on there, and it's a great opportunity to share philosophies around putting an effective team together, and also engaging with lots of different areas of sport, all the way from development all the way to performance sport.
Perfect. And if anyone wants to reach you, they're also able to reach you through those two platforms?
Yes, they are. Definitely are, yeah.
Excellent. This has been really, really good, Richard. It's been inspiring.
No, thank you. It gives me the opportunity to outreach to a brand new group of people, and hopefully they've found some little sound bites in what I say, and their performance, or they're embarking on maybe new challenges in their life, that they want to have some self-reflection, and hopefully I've given them a little bit of an opportunity to find something from my story, and anything's possible. And like I said before, it's about having solid pillars in their life that will hold up performance, and also having the people around them that are positive, that they provide them with the inspiration and aspirations to be better.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Any book on the horizon, Richard?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure you get asked that all the time, right?
Yeah. Maybe after 2012, after Tokyo, we'll see.
Okay.
Hold this space, and maybe it'd be an autobiography about my life and sport, but also it might be about how to embrace life and how to get the most out of life.
Awesome. This has been so champion-minded. And with that, as I do with all my guests, in your opinion, Richard, what does it take to be champion-minded? and it can just be a sentence, because you've already spoken 50 minutes of pure champion-minded talk here. So
okay, I'll give you. I know when I go to talk to people in performance, and I always get one question, and they always say, Richard, is it attitude or ability? Which one is the most important? And I say, attitude beats ability every time.
Perfect way to finish.
Awesome. Cheers,
Richard. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's nighttime there, and probably time for the kids to go to bed. And,
that's it. Definitely. I've actually just gone to bed, so I'm gonna. I've had something to eat, but I need a little bit more fuel, because I've got a busy session on the track tomorrow at Loughborough University. So I'll hopefully back up my day that I've had today, and like I say, just keep trying to be better every day, even though I'm 42.
Awesome. Brilliant, mate. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that one. Thank you so much for joining me this week on What It Takes. I'm sure you'll agree with me that Richard is incredibly inspiring, and I encourage you to check him out on his social media platforms. So remember that this podcast is available on iTunes and on YouTube. Connect with me on social media on Twitter at Allistair McCall, Facebook, Allistair McCall page, and on Instagram, #BeChampionMinded. So remember, you were made for greatness. Now go do the work. Until next time, guys, stay champion-minded.